Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Dr. Ayaba, we understand that some fighting has flared after the elections on Sunday between Anglophone separatists and the security forces.
Yes, we have been battling Cameroon across the entire territory of Ambazonia, even after the elections. As you may be aware, Cameroon deployed thousands of troops to legitimize the fraudulent elections within our own homeland. And we call on our people not only to reject foreign elections in our country, but to ensure that they can defend our villages, protect our women and children.
And the boycotting of the elections was largely said to be attributed to this Anglophone crisis. Take us through what exactly is meant by this Anglophone crisis by the leader of Cameroon's opposition party.
This is an Ambazonian crisis. It's not a linguistic crisis. It's a crisis of one country that gained independence on the 1st of January 1960, that occupied our own country on the 1st of October 1961, and since then has used its own domestic policies to govern our own country with a lot of impunity. And Cameroon has organized fraudulent elections since 1961 within our country. And in almost all of those elections, its puppet leaders have won those elections. And so we have called on our people to stop taking part in an election that does not represent the interests of the Ambazonian people, because Cameroon is a foreign power and its policies within our country are not in the interest of the Ambazonian people.
So, in terms of the way forward, is Ambazonia, just take us through exactly the existence of Ambazonia. I know that about a couple of years ago, there was an earmarking of Ambazonia as a separate country so far.
Ambazonia is not seceding from Cameroon because Cameroon gained independence as a separate country without Ambazonia being part of it. Its international border with Ambazonia were clearly demarcated in 1916 and reaffirmed in 1932 as an international border. And so we are not seceding from Cameroon. Ambazonia is actually the first democratic country in the continent of Africa that had its prime minister, its executive branch, its legislative branch, and organized one of the first free and fair elections that resulted in the change of power between the ruling party and the opposition. So we must have these things very clear. Cameroon occupied our country and has since then claimed ownership of our homeland. 3 years ago, we restored that independence, and Cameroon
in 2017.
Yes, that's right. That was actually done in 1984 by from Gorgie Dinka, and in 1999 reaffirmed by late Justice Alebwede Ebong, and in 2017 asserted by now detained leader of the IG, Seseko Ayub Tabi. And Cameroon responded to that assertion by deploying thousands of troops in our homeland, using disproportionate force to kill women and children. And I decided it was time to exercise our right to self-defense under the Charter of the United Nations, because the world failed woefully to invoke the responsibility to protect our people. And so we had no choice than to defend ourselves from Cameroon's brutality.
In 2019, the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, spoke about a national dialogue that was meant to start at the end of September, if I'm not mistaken. How far did that get, and what were some of the agreements reached in terms of a way forward in quelling the violence?
Well, we rejected the national dialogue because we consider this to be an international issue that cannot be adjudicated by Cameroon itself as a party to the conflict. We have called for the organization of a credible international negotiation that should bring Cameroon and our leadership on the table to negotiate Cameroon's exit from our country. Mr. Biya has decided, like his predecessor, to organize a facade, as they have done repeatedly when there is a crisis, to maintain the status quo. That has not worked. He has done so many times, and it has not worked. He's changed the constitution many times to make himself the life president of Cameroon, and that has not worked. So equal partners to negotiate an exit of Cameroon from our country will be attended by our team.
We're going to leave it there, unfortunately, due to time constraints, but we'll definitely be in touch as we update our listeners on the situation in Ambazonia. That is Dr. Cho Ayaba, frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council, on our World News Today feature. Right now, though, time for sports. Here's Tabi Somasia.